Helensburgh. Helensburgh. A day in Helensburgh and watching Jason Statham and the Beekeeper, is that going to be my weekend? Is that going to be my weekend? Is that what it's all going to consist of? Were they the highlights? Surely no. It wasn't supposed to go like this. I mean, it was only a couple of hours in Helensburgh, but it felt like a couple of months. No offence to the place. I mean, I'm from Dros and I know about bad seaside towns, and Helensburgh's a really pretty place at times, and it's nice views and all that kind of thing, but I just wasn't having it. I just wasn't feeling it at all. And the whole point was it was so intense on Thursday night in that game, and I was buzzing after that. I didn't go straight to sleep when I went home, and I usually do that when we get beat. But no, it was just we played so well. I was so proud of us. I was actually buzzing. And then you get the podcast on Friday with Brian. So I've got to watch the game back. And I watched it in tea time on Friday. I was getting right into it again. It was super intense. And then you're thinking, well, Sunday the game's kicking off at 12. I'm going to have to go up and watch that. Do a post-match reaction pod, and we'll try to get back to the top of the league probably because they'll manage to claw it back on Saturday, and it'll just be super intense. We need to do something that's just requiring no thought whatsoever. The Beekeeper, Jason Statham. I mean, every Sky original ever is honking. They're all terrible. Why do I keep watching them? And I think this is what it is. You just want something you can switch off to, but it's even beyond switching off. It's like an actual lobotomy. It's absolutely awful. Michael Mann's a director. Michael Mann's a filmmaker. Michael Mann knows scripts. He knows that you've got to have characters. He knows that you've got to develop stories. You can't just have everybody running about making different colours and shouting Mother Funster so it sounds totally American. It's like something Bart and Homer would watch. And Michael Mann saw Jason Statham and he thought, aye, right, I've got it for you, mate. I know what you're going to do here. You can keep your suit, Jason, and I love your look, you know, the mean and moody thing, but you're going to get 20 seconds in an airport with Tom Cruise. Bump into him, drop a briefcase or a suitcase, and he drops his and you swap them, and that's you done, mate. It's not even a cameo, it's just a bit part, it's just that's you. That's Jason Statham in movies as far as a proper movie maker is concerned. A wee bit in collateral, but I mean, they harm to the guy. I like an action movie, I like stuff, but the idea that's going to be a franchise, the same as like Bourne and all that. I mean, it's the opposite of the Bourne identity and stuff. It's just... But I watched it because I thought I'm going to have to chill out, I'm going to have to zone out, because it's so intense Thursday, so intense Friday, and it's going to be so intense Monday, and then you'll get the international break and you're ready to chill. But I didn't go to a non-league game because I went to juniors yesterday, but no, we'll do that. I'd get off the train, and I go down it, and I see a guy with the green gear on, and I'm thinking, well, that's fine, the boy's just, it's like 1 o'clock, the guy's just getting in his motor and he's going to go off to Parkhead to watch them at home. People don't change their mind. People don't say, oh, I've supported Celtic my whole life, but Rangers are looking really good this season, so I'm going to start supporting Rangers, or it definitely is a conspiracy. Celtic fans are absolutely right. I'm disgusted supporting Rangers. I'm going to go and support Celtic. People don't do that. Nobody changes their mind. There's no imagination in how you pick what team you support. You just got a team and that is it. So the guy's going to support his team. He's a Celtic supporter. Let him go. I let it go. And I walked down to the shore front and we go down to the pier bit. And I remember being there at COVID. It was kind of semi-lockdown time. And it was nice to get out and get a bit of fresh air. But it was like a bomb site next to it. But now that's all been finished. It's like a sports centre, a pool, something like that. It's a really nice building down there. And they've resurfaced the pier. And there's these bollards and they're black. But they've painted the top of them white. They're the old bollards for the pier. And it's so when you're coming for the new stuff for the sports centre that joins onto the old pier, you don't foil the bollards. So it's black and then tappy, it's white, and I'm saying to my wife, that's like a pint of Guinness, isn't it? This looks like a pint of Guinness. And then we go back up and we're supposed to go out to the place to get the chips because it's often she wants chips at lunchtime. It's me that's always wanting chips. We're going to this place that's, it's the seaside there. And it's mobbed to kind of get in, kind of move, and there's lots of folk with green gear on. I'm thinking, it's about half one, you're cutting it a bit fine to get to the game. But anyway, they're no moving, so we're just going into Costa. Is it a Costa? Is it a Starbucks? I don't know, but it's like that Edwin Morgan poem, in the snack bar, except it was me. I was the old guy for in the snack bar. I was the one just sitting there going, well, the thing is, we put so much energy into the game against Benfica, and then it's a 12 noon kick-off. This is going to go one of two ways. It's going to be like that game against Hearts we had after we played Rapid Vienna the first time. We had a group game back at Ibrox for years, and we beat Rapid Vienna. It was dead exciting, beat them 3-1, then went out against Hearts, and it felt like 2 minutes later and we're 3-0 up at half-time against Hearts. Because we just blew them away, because we carried on the buzz. It was a surfeit of energy and emotion. We just carried that into the Hearts game. Or it's going to go the same as when we played Borussia Dortmund, under Gio, and we beat them away from here, and we drew them at Ibrox. 2 really brilliant, intense games, but then in between times we're drawn with Motherwell, and we're drawn with Dundee United, and there was a few other problems that season, but ultimately they 4 points, getting up costing us a league. That was a difference. It was maybe going to go that way then as well. I just don't know how it's going to go, and everybody in the place is looking at me, and she said, I just wanted to know if you wanted a bit of millionaire shortbread with that cappuccinos. Aye, go and get me that. And we come back out the place and we're walking down back to the shore front to get a bit more fresh air. And then there's the same guy. It's the same guy with a green top, and it's like 2:30, 2:45. He's not going to the game. They're not going. They're still walking about with green stuff on, Celtic stuff, and they're not going to the game while Celtic are playing at home. And then how ashamed he is, and there's shamrocks in the windows of the shops. I'm like, what's actually happening here? It's St Patrick's Day. It's St Patrick's Day in the Mora. Just like the thing, if we actually drop points up at Dens on St Patrick's Day, and it can be just one big green and white celebration, but it's no, is it? It's just. The big celebration is conspiracy theories. It's going to be somehow, we're getting punished for this, but somehow it's still a conspiracy on behalf of Rangers, like God's applause us. How you doing, folks? My name's Alec Anderson. This is your Gersnet immediate post-postponement reaction pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering and Football Prizes. Yeah, I'm just trying to give you a wee flavour there of what it's like to expect something. To expect something to go a certain way, and it just doesn't happen. I'm talking to you after Rangers drew P-P with Dundee. I can't do that again. I did that in December. Another team in dark blue, Ross County it was supposed to be coming to Ibrox. Remember that? That got postponed, and that was supposed to help us ahead of the game against Celtic. The fact that we lost that game doesn't prove that it wasn't a conspiracy. It just proves that Celtic are just rising up there. Yet again, they've beaten the man, like the tax man who they love. I don't know how it works these days. But aye, that was because the roads were really unpassable back in December. The weather was lethal. People were going to die on the road. So it was nothing today with Ibrox, as Rangers were really keen to point out, because they know the kind of patter that hovers about in Scottish football if there's any change to the schedule whatsoever. But as long as it's making life harder for Rangers, it's okay. It's sporting integrity, and that's what's happened today. Dundee P-P persistently pissing down in Dundee overnight, and the pitch unplayable today. Fourth time this season that Dens Park has been unplayable, and it's no phonesthesia, that thing where it's like the first two letters in a word, a bunch of different words, but it puts them on the same kind of genre of meaning, like greasy, grimy, grotesque, grisly, green, it's all the same kind of stuff. It's just D, just the one letter D, but it's Dens, and it's dank, and it's damp, and it's dreich, and it's downright put the cowbosh on our weekend. And I wonder if it's going to cost us in the end up, because the whole debate right now is how this is going to affect Rangers. Does this suit Rangers? Is God a Protestant? Is God in the Orange Order? Is God basically a Mason? I don't know what she does, but she seems to have put on enough rain in the sky last night in the area of Dens Park, just off Sandeman Street, to make sure that this game doesn't go ahead today. And that apparently is suiting Rangers. That's one of the narratives that are coming. I'm talking about social media stuff here, folks. It doesn't really, it's not the real world, but it starts to affect things. We've found out in the past that playing to the galleries, as certain clubs will do, can end up having a real material effect on how our season goes. It can have a real material effect on what division we're playing in. So we need to take this stuff into consideration. I thought it was quite amazing that it was Dens Park today. Dens Park, the place where football stops, where football doesn't get played, where the game halts. Rangers are on 29 games, Celtic are on 30 played, and that's the exact same number of games both clubs were on when football got stopped in March 2020. Now there's 13 points in it at that point in time, but that was 2 Old Firm games to go with a game in hand. That's a possibility of a 9-point swing right there. And the way Celtic utterly collapsed when they did start playing football again the following season, who's to say what could have happened? We just know that what would have happened if it had been Rangers at the top of the league at that point in time, and the league was awarded without games being played, without fixtures being fulfilled for all our financial problems. Never did we fail to fulfil a fixture until the rest of the league we were in told us to in 2019-20 to ensure that Celtic were champions. We know that I'd have gone to The Hague, never mind Strasbourg, if it had been Rangers getting the title that season. So yeah, again, that's down to a spam folder was heavily involved, and that spam folder was at Dens Park. That agreement everybody came to in March 2020 to call the league. Same number of games played today, and yet again, Rangers have been stopped playing beyond game 29 at Dens Park. Aye, John Nelms, the Dundee CEO, is he the de facto owner? I don't know. I don't really know enough about Dundee's kind of boardroom shenanigans. Don't really care. He was he wasn't doing himself any favours today, I didn't think. A really good tune, the fact there's water pissing out of the flare impersonation from him when he was talking about, look at the state of me, I've been here since 5 o'clock this morning. Well, see, when you're there since 5 o'clock this morning, forking the pitch because you know the game's in danger of being off. Otherwise, that's the time to get on the blower to Rangers and let them know. Not rely on our kit man getting in there as early as kit men are want to get into the stadium ahead of the team arriving, and he's got to get in touch with the Rangers management. Was it 9:15 to say they're forking the hell out of this pitch here, there's a chance the game's not going to go ahead. Rangers were in St Andrews because we're planning like professionals. We're planning ahead. We're making sure we're in the area for a kick-off at that time. But it's not that luxury is not afforded to so many of our supporters. The game eventually isn't called off until 10:30 today, an hour and a half before kick-off. Now, 12 noon on a Sunday is a shocking time for kick-offs anyway. Just generally speaking, before you have European games being played on a Thursday night, before that kind of stuff happens. Sky, just like most of our Scottish football's English paymasters, just treating our game with total disdain. So we've got a game on at 12 noon on a Sunday in Dundee. Now, there are Rangers supporters who will be raging today because it stops them seeing the team they love on their doorstep. There's plenty of Rangers supporters in Dundee, plenty of Rangers supporters in Tayside, plenty of Rangers supporters, Angus and all that kind of area of the country. But by and large, southwest of Scotland, some people much further south than Dumfries, some people much further south than Liverpool going to Rangers games, and a lot of them will be working on Monday. They don't have the luxury of being able just to plan their life round about the best hotels and what have you, and it'll cost a lot of money to these people. They're in Dundee, they're in the area already when that game gets postponed. Now, this is something that happens in football. Actually, it was Forfar. I remember the best one for me and my pal, Ewan get his dad's motor, and we split the petrol money, and it was that Scottish Cup. Was it 2008, 2009 season before that? Playing Forfar in the Scottish Cup, and it was live on the Sunday. My mum and dad's 40th wedding anniversary the night before, and I've got to go up to Forfar the next day. I'm there in Ardrossan, and then I've got to go up to Glasgow, and then go and get my mate, and up we go to Forfar the crack of dawn the next day. And we spent so much time yakking. If we've been on a supporters bus or something like that, we've been mixing with other Rangers fans. The phones were off, and we're just yakking to each other constantly. And we get up to Forfar, and it's not very busy, is it? Game was off, So we go back up on was it the Wednesday night or the Thursday night of the game actually get replayed. We won the game and all that. That was absolutely fine. But it happens to us all, and it's a horrible feeling. But this just seems to have been so avoidable. Fourth game to get postponed at Dens Park this season. That's absolutely shocking. And yet again, Philip Clement is left complaining about pitches, and yet again he's complaining about the pitches as a gentleman would before the game actually takes place, because this game isn't taking place today or this week or probably next week either. You'll be lucky if this game takes place this month. He's had the absolute cowpat of a pitch at Dumbarton, but Dumbarton on the lower leagues, they don't have a lot of money. They've only got one stand, and it's Rangers were part of their pitch being like that with the B team playing there. So we're not going to have a go at poor Dumbarton. We wanted that game to go ahead in the Scottish Cup earlier. A total a storm in that game. St Mirren, Paisley, it's a wind tunnel, hardly any grass on the pitch. That was a badging. The pitch at McDermott is an absolute disgrace. It's like a sandbox on concrete, that place. And then you've got the plastic at Kilmarnock, the plastic at Livingston. Well, if you had the plastic pitches, that game would have went ahead today. Yeah, that's not the same thing. Two wrongs don't make a right. But Dundee, fourth time this season, a game's been postponed, and the manager's saying he's very, very, very disappointed, angry, annoyed, whatever it was. It was the three veries qualifying just how bad things were for him that made the point when he was interviewed pitchside at Dens Park today by Sky and by the Rangers YouTube channel. He's raging that the game hasn't gone ahead. These players are ready to go. They're ready to go. They're up for this. He will have got them psyched, and like any good professional sportsman, it takes something away from you. And I'm not a professional sportsman, but I'm just a supporter. I'm not even going to the game. I'm watching this thing on telly, and I didn't realise exactly how psyched I was until it didn't happen. I know it's not quite up there with that episode of Sopranos where Tony and Paulie are just realising that Big Pussy is probably a rat, and they have basically Tony's got a hod up. You need to be sure. You need to be sure, because this is our friend we're talking about as much as anything else. And then the credits start going up, the titles start going up, and it's no like it's no the days where you could watch box sets, you could binge. It was like you had to wait until next week, and I'm shouting at the screen, "Don't stop! No, you can't stop!" You know, it's not that episode of Breaking Bad where they do the whole thing. They've got to get the chemicals off the train while the train's stopped, you know, and it's out in the middle of the desert and that, and it's like, they manage it, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's totally intense, and then the wee boy turns up on his BMX bike, and Jesse Plemons shoots him, and you're like, no, and the titles come up, you're absolutely devastated, you're leveled, but it's that same kind of feel. I've got Hemingway here. It's so bad that I'm getting onto the Hemingway, A Farewell to Arms. One of the greatest books I've ever read in my life. And, you know, they have these extra pages. I'm trying to hold this up here so you can see it. These extra pages at the end, the blank pages, which is, I think it's something to do with a printing thing, that you have, you know, the pages are halved, so the book's, the text has got to fit into, and it never fits in perfectly. To the number of pages that you've allowed for it. And I remember just sitting in St Enoch's shopping centre in my lunch hour in some crappy job that was working, so I had enough money to go and watch Rangers at the weekend, one of the many that I've done. And I'm just sitting, I'd been reading it, you know, the night before and stuff like that, and I'm just sitting reading the final wee bit. So still a couple of pages to go, and it gets to the bit where, right at the end, and you're like, I'm flicking at these blank pages, no, don't stop that. I need more text. I need more words. That is, it's so devastating. It's so devastating. An ending, you just feel flat. You feel bad. And we've got 2 weeks coming up, and I'm looking forward to that international break. And I know Rangers need it. I know my team needs it to recover and get more players back, so we're ready to go for a big push, because we're out of Europe now. We're going to concentrate on the treble before we even had a chance to adjust our sights onto the domestic scene so we can sweep up. Something's just got in the way again. Things have got a bit funny again. Things have got a bit, Martin O'Neill saying Rangers were never made to play an Old Firm game in the back of a European semi-final, and suddenly Rangers are having to play 2 Old Firm games, both at Parkhead, either side of games against Fiorentina in a European semi-final. It's just got that little kind of, there's no fitness going on here. It's just incompetence. It is incompetence, but when, I think the thing that's really making me angry is when, what's his name? The guy at Dundee, I forgot his name already. The water pisser or the flare guy, he's standing there. Don Robertson just explained to the same interviewer on Sky, I would imagine, at the very same point in time, that the pitch is unplayable. And you've seen footage with the very same cameraman who's now got his camera in the face of the Dundee CEO. He's showing you the pitch, and they're throwing the ball up, but it's just dying. It's just dying a death in various parts of the pitch. And then they're walking about other parts of the pitch, the referee and various officials. And their shoes are leaving an imprint. Their footprints are being left in the grass, and they're then filling up. Those footprints are then filling up with water. It's a disgrace. It's a sponge. And this guy is then standing there saying, Nelms, he said, but I don't know what the problem is. There's been 4 or 5 named storms this year, and last night wasn't the same. And he's just trying to, it's like a politician thing. That's got nothing to do with anything. That wasn't a named storm that hit Dundee last night, but he's putting that idea in your head. No, named storms, supposed to be 6 millimetres of water. We got 12 millimetres of water. And I think there's only 2 patches that maybe aren't very playable, but we could probably have this. If it was kicking off at 3 o'clock, it would be fine. I don't really know what the officials are, but he's basically slandering the officials who are stood right next to him, and he's obviously discussed this decision with, implying that somehow it's their fault. That's the tin pottery. That's where you just think, what's going on here? You're not doing yourself any favours with this kind of patter, except that your pitch isn't good enough. You've got a problem with the drainage. They're still going to be angry. They're still going to be upset. But when you start that kind of stuff, it adds a level of insult, and it takes away any kind of trust as well as we go forward. What are you up to? Dundee, spam folder. Of course it's not there. Of course they've not rigged the pitch today. Dundee wanted the game to go ahead. We know that. But there's just something. It's like, I think there's just too much of utter slander. Open slander of officials, of the media, for trying to write a story. They've written the story that Rangers have already won the league by reporting the fact that Rangers are picking up more points than Celtic, by putting the scores in the newspaper. It's I think the story's already been written and blah. Could you explain? It's an enigmatic statement. What do you actually mean? You know what I mean. That's gaslighting. Don't tell people they know what you mean. Well then, could you just explain it? If I know, no, you know what I mean. No, it's a deliberately oblique statement you're making, so you now need to explain it. No. You get the general buzz that it's a conspiracy and everybody's against us. you've won 4 consecutive trebles. 5 trebles in 7 seasons. They've lost 1 league title out of the last 9, 11, 12 or something like that. It's but somehow it's still, at the minute anybody's anywhere near stopping them from winning the league, it's a conspiracy. And then we've got this farce today, and somehow this will still be Rangers' fault. It gets a bit, I'm a bit ratty about it. It's just that horrible feeling of possibility denied. Not even get a chance to test it out. I've really lucky. I'm trying to fill some time here, folks, but I'm also trying to get something off my chest, and this is what I love about Gersnet. It's just a big therapy session for all of us, hopefully, not just me, but you're certainly getting it all dumped on you from me tonight. I've been really lucky. I don't do anything other than football, really, and even that, I don't do away games now the way I used to. And Dens Park, it's been terrible to me. I've only been to Dens Park maybe 8, 9 times in my life. I think I've seen Rangers win in there once. But even in my teens, when I was doing it home and away every week, I remember the first time I went to Dens, and it's beautiful. It's become a bit of a Frankenstein type of stadium with a bad combination of the kind of Victorian or Edwardian classic stadium shape having to come into the 21st century. So you've got the Bobby Cox and the Shankly stand at each end of them. At each end of Dens, kind of taken away from the general shape and the integrity of it. But when I used to go there, it's terrible in practical terms. It used to be the old away end at Dens, you'll remember it, just the terrace, and the further back it went, the lower down it went, so you had a worse view if you went back. And the enclosure that I've still got in front of that main stand, it's now kind of half filled with seats, and I don't know what they've got going on the other side of it. It looks like a kind of hospitality type thing, but it was the same. The further back you went, the lower down it went. It's a terrible view. You were like chin height to the pitch. But it was just lovely. It was a great place, and I remember it was the pitch that blew me away. It was one of that great experience you get when you walk into a stadium for the first time. You're excited, especially in my teens, and you still retain this for a lot of bigger stadiums, or stadiums that mean a lot to you these days. If you get to go somewhere abroad on holiday, go to the Bernabeu or something, you can be quite emotional. But I remember going to Dens as a kid for the first time and just getting the total grandeur, the grandeur. If Ibrox is a kind of Titanic, if you like a Belfast built, just a massive liner, ocean liner, I've always felt as if Dens Park was a kind of royal yacht, and that's probably what lent itself to the myth, apocryphal, that they got their main stand from us. Was Dens Park was the old Ibrox main stand that they had. No, it's because of the bend in the street at Sandeman Street, so it bends in the middle, but you don't notice that in the television. Well, not when you're a kid anyway. It's only when you're actually at the place and you see it, and there's an actual bend. It's that V shape, the main stand in plan, because it's too big for the pitch, basically, the length of the pitch. But nevertheless, that pitch was massive and it's magnificent. It was always beautiful. Dens Park, the grass at Dens Park, staged a League Cup final twice, a League Cup final and a League Cup final replay. Dens Park, only ground outside Edinburgh in Scotland to stage a major cup final. I think so. Did it twice anyway. But and Dundee United won both times, of course. Legendary Dundee United at one point had won all their major trophies at Dens, clinched them at Dens. But it was beautiful, and I loved it. And it was the first place I noticed the camber on a pitch, because you're so low down in that old away terrace, and as it was, I'm talking mid-80s here, that you can see how the pitch bevels. It's to let the water run away, But it was like a kind of Wembley type pitch. Dens Park was huge ground in terms of the breadth of it, the width of it, the measurements, and the rest of the ground. There's lots of spaces you can see what's going on behind Dens Park, but it's almost because they can't get enough, they can't build enough structures in the stadium to cover the size of it. A magnificent venue in its own way. I always thought Dens Park, but I'm really starting to hate the place. It's really disappointed me. And Dundee were a club I found it hard to have a problem with, because I think almost a beef with United, a beef with Hibs, Hearts. Hearts fans singing "The Rangers died and the Hearts survived." When we were all so worried about Hearts when they were in financial trouble before us, and that's the kind of, I hate that song. I think it's just really just proper ingrate stuff. I think it's out of order, But Aberdeen we've always got a problem with. Celtic we've always got a problem with. But it was basically Dundee were the only one of the other kind of major clubs. It's got the big heavy hitters that I didn't have a problem with, really, and a lot of that was because we didn't get them. They replaced us in the top flight when we dropped out in 2012, and we didn't encounter them in the league, any of the leagues in the way back up. And then the stuff happened with... I mean, I don't live in Dundee. I'd imagine Dundee fans are horrible about Rangers. You know, fans are just horrible about other clubs generally, especially the bigger ones. But I'd never really had it in my face, never had any great problem, especially compared to the stuff we were getting from Dundee United. So I retain my kind of affection for Dundee. But things have definitely started to go downhill over the last few years in my personal relationship with Dundee. I'm sure they're worried. But they should be worried about the fans that they've let down today, and the question is, how will this affect Rangers? We've got to fit this fixture in somewhere now, and one of the benefits of us going out of Europe, if we're going to go to Europe, at least we've got that benefit that we're playing one game. We get 2 weeks off international break, then we're playing one game a week. We've got Hibs on Saturday, the 30th of March, and then it's Celtic the following Sunday, and then it's Ross County the following Sunday, and then it's a Scottish Cup semi-final the weekend after that, and then that's it. That's the end of the regular season in the league, so you can then concentrate on your top 6, machinations, which will decide what's won and what's lost. And if the Scottish Cup final is something we're in, well, we don't have to worry about it anyway because it's the last game of the season. It's beyond the end of the league. So it was all looking nice and organised, and suddenly we've got to shove a fixture in there, and you can guarantee Peter Law is currently lobbying under threat of some sort of financial punishment to somebody. That it should be played on the Friday. We should be made to play at Dens Park on the Friday before we play Celtic at Ibrox on the Sunday, or something like that. I'm exaggerating for effect, but I'll not be far off it. And the other thing I just can't help thinking is if we'd had that little extra jewel of energy in our legs on Thursday night in that knife edge, balanced on a knife edge game that we had against Benfica, what would we have done? Could it have made a difference? Could we have won that game the other night knowing that we didn't have a league game on the Sunday? There's no way of knowing ahead the game's going to get postponed, but it just, the frustration, unbelievable. That game the other night against Benfica was like the conversation in it was like Heat. It was like the coffee shop scene in Heat, filmed in Cape Mantalini's no longer there in LA, but the back and forth with De Niro and Pacino's characters, the first time De Niro and Pacino were acting opposite each other in a major movie. They'd been in the same shots, in a kind of merging of shots in Godfather 2, and obviously they'd done the same thing earlier on in the film Heat, where they're outside the bullion depository place. But anyway, the precious metals depository, when he's watching them on the security camera. I'm going on too much about this because there's been no football today. But they're acting opposite each other. It's Vincent Hanna, hard-nosed cop with Neil Macaulay, they got, and he's saying to him, 7 years in Folsom, McNeil before that. Is McNeil as tough as they say? And De Niro's character, Macaulay, goes, "Oh, you figure I'm becoming a penologist?" And if that's me, that this is a kind of conversation between two guys who basically try to kill each other, playing a deadly game of cat and mouse, all that kind of stuff, heavy hitters, all that kind of patter, and they can't afford to. That's what it was like between Rangers and Benfica the other night. You can't be afford to be making quips. You've got to be on it the whole time. One wee slip here in this conversation, and that's enough. You lose enough respect and enough self-respect that this will just turn into a slaughter. And that's what it's like watching Rangers. And they're like, if that's me in that conversation, the minute De Niro says penologist, I'm going to go, no, you're a penisologist. But Al Pacino's, he's playing Vincent Hanna hardcore. You're looking to go back. I've watched some cruise guys just looking to, muck up and get busted straight back. You must have worked some real dipshit crews. I worked all kinds. It's back and forth. And they're hitting each other over the head, really. Where they're not giving any quarter, no quarter asked, no quarter given. They're not giving each other a break. And then eventually they settle down and they realise that a bit of respect there. That's what it was like the other night. Was in Benfica, slap, bang, wallop, no taking it the wrong way, no diving, nothing like that. Just having it. Two heavy hitters slapping back and forth, and I feel as if today against Dundee we could just have. It's all about muscle memory. I was talking about this with Brian in the pod on Friday night. It's all about automatisms as far as Philip Clement is concerned, and that's what it is. If we've played that game on Thursday night, then we're kicking off at 12 noon on the Sunday. That level of intensity we had in there, the legs are still going to be twitching. They're still going to have that sharpness in them, at least for the first half hour or so before tiredness kicks in. And perhaps that could have been us the day. I just had visions today of us going out there against Dundee, and it's just bang. Like that game, I've got the programme behind me there. Rapid Vienna. We played them on the Thursday night, our first big group game back at Ibrox. after our time in the lower leagues. It was a magical night, a really intense game. We end up 1-3-1 with a magical late goal from Daniel Candeias doing a lovely back flick, and Alfredo Morelos with a really cinematic finish. The place is going crazy, a lot of emotion about. And then come the Sunday, we've got Hearts at Ibrox on the Sunday. We're all worried that's an intense game. What's it going to be like? Are we going to be too knackered for that? But we just carry on in the same vein, and we're 3-0 up in the first half hour, game over. Just enjoying themselves, and I feel as if the Rangers players were going to do that today, going to have that same buzz, that same feel in their legs. We're just going to go out there and carry on the party. Of course, it's easy for me to say that now because the game's not going ahead. There's no way we're going to drop points today because the game's not going to go ahead. But I just felt it was going to be kind of in media res stuff. One of the films that just started with David Lynch, wild at heart. We're just going to go out there and there's a guy, suddenly he's coming at you with a knife and you've got to get a hold of it. Nicolas Cage gets the guy and he just slams him up against the wall, gets a knife off him, and he's battering his head off the balustrades out that big Civic Hall place, and he gets him in the floor and he's battering his head off the flare, the concrete floor, and he's just like, guy's brains are smacking about, and like, that's him, he's battered him to death, and he knows it's the evil witch, wicked witch for the east, with a green face up there, Diane Ladd, and he's pointing at her, I know you did this, I know this was you that was behind this, and she's just laughing. She's laughing because I've wound you up and I've made you do something. He's going to jail because he's going to be Diane Ladd's daughter. No, she's been telling lies to get him, that guy, to try and stab him, and he's killed me. You're like, what is this all about? What is this film all about? I was hoping it was going to be that kind of display for Rangers today. This here snakeskin jacket is a sign of my belief in personal freedom, a sign of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom. These here red and black socks are a sign of our collectivity and our belief in being free. I just want to be free as the wind and the rain, and it's the rain. No, the rain is what's cost us the day, just like the rain in the snack bar by Edwin Morgan, although it was a Costa I was in yesterday. That's us, folks. We are a point off the top of the table. Celtic with a better goal difference. They've played a game more. That's how we're going into this break, and we're going to find out when this game is going to get played. But a really, really disappointing day for everybody involved with Rangers. Yes, we now get a chance to get players back from injury. Hopefully we can get 2 or 3 back. It'd be great. The one I'm really excited about is Sima. I'm just hearing this as Sima get a chance of getting back to full fitness before that game against Hibs. The thing I'm not so excited about is the fact that I'll do you a post-match reaction pod after the Hibs game, and then that's me. I've got other stuff to do up until probably the semi-final against Hearts. So it's best part of a month for me. I'll manage to get as the cowboy at the end of another David Lynch film says to Thoreau. If you will see me one time, if you do good, and you will see me 2 more times if Scottish football does really bad and makes Rangers play a fixture at a crazy time. But no podcast, no main pod from Gersnet tonight, folks. The usual Sunday night pod. We've got a bit of illness in the camp. We've got our own injuries to deal with, and today, there's no game on, so it's limited what you can talk about. But thanks very much for your time. And thanks very much for your attention over the last few weeks. We've got a great community. Get in touch with us in the YouTube comments section. It's been so good. It really is a great community. And hopefully come the end of the season, we're going to have plenty to celebrate. But we will definitely be back with you ahead of the game against Hibs, which is going to be super pivotal. Start of a really exciting time domestically for Rangers. And I will see you one more time in the next month or so. But aye, thanks, folks, and just do what you can to make your weekend enjoyable. Do not watch The Beekeeper. That's not what we want to see on Sky. We want to see Sky Sports, the feature on that the day. We didn't want to see Sky, but don't watch The Beekeeper. Cheers, folks.